other fallen.
You've smashed their hopes to powder again. Excellent.
Macca's guides.
Hey guys, Macca here, playing Destiny 2, and I'm going to be showing you all 8 types of public events and how to get them to be heroic public events. You might be wondering what the point of all of this is. Well, a heroic public event is a really easy and fast way to get a lot of XP, and that XP will then get you levels, and once you reach level 20, every level you get will get you Blight engrams, which are also pretty useful. It'll help you also get exotic engrams at a rate of approximately 1 in every 10 or 1 in every 20, and they're a very fun way to play with friends. Now, there are a ton of public events always happening around all of the planets, and you'll notice them on your map as well as a timer as to when they start. And you'll want to be there before they start or right as they go live in order to participate. Now, every public event can be done completely normally, just follow the objectives, but all of them have a optional secret side objective that you can complete to make them trigger into a heroic level public event, which will become harder and also give you more rewards. This is a guide on how to get all 8 types of public events to be heroic. Additionally, you'll also get an achievement or trophy for completing your first heroic public event. Now, the first type of public event you might come across is called Glimmer Extraction, also known as Glimmer Farming, and this one often spawns right next to the church near the very beginning of the game. Now, normally you would just destroy all 4 of the marked enemies in the 3 stations, but before destroying the enemies, focus on the small unit that connects to the central hub via a small light. It looks like a small generator and will get hit markers on it when you shoot it. You have to destroy this unit before taking out the 4 marked enemies at all 3 of the locations. Make sure you're careful here because the marked enemies like to come up in your face sometimes and you accidentally kill them. So make sure you keep 1 alive and then destroy all 3 of these small generators that will be next to the unit. Once you destroy all 3 in all 3 locations, while enemies are still alive obviously, the event will become heroic. At this point, there will be a giant pile of glimmer near the middle of the final area. And what you'll want to do is stand in the middle of this circle and fill it up to 100%. There will also be a few bosses that spawn, including some really high level stuff that might actually give you a really hard time like it did for me. Now, once you stand in there, reach 100% and kill the bosses, you're good to go and you've completed your first heroic event. Although, honestly, in my opinion, this one is one of the hardest ones out of all 8 of them. Now, next up, we have the Ether Resupply, and this one's probably the easiest one to do by accident, and probably the one that a lot of people are getting without even realizing exactly what they're doing. So for this one, you'll end up in an area and a giant ship will come in and it will spawn a giant servitor. And that's going to be your main enemy you want to focus on. But in order to get the public event to be heroic, what you'll need to do is kill all of the mini servitors that will be feeding it. So as you can see, there's a small servitor. It's going to be putting up a shield on it to make it somewhat immune. And once you clear out all of these smaller servitors, it'll turn into a heroic event as seen on the banner on top. Once that happens, the giant servitor actually ends up getting a bit of an upgrade, and you'll see that happen on screen right about now. Also, I do believe it spawns some extra ads and it becomes just a little bit more difficult, but I didn't notice any new notable enemies spawning in after we did this. Then we took them out and completed the heroic event. I actually got pretty lucky, and this was my first heroic event that I did, so I unlocked the 40 gamer score achievement. I also got up to the loot and got an exotic engram, which was pretty sweet. It actually ended up decoding or decrypting into something I already had, so it was a complete waste, but that's how that worked out for me. Next up, we have the weapons exchange, which usually happens in a big open area, and they're pretty common on Titan. For this one, you'll come to an area, go on the flag, and then eventually it'll drop an enemy, and shortly after it'll spawn these 3 giant circular shields and a walker in the middle. In order to get this public event to become heroic, what you'll need to do is open up all 3 of those shields, which have scorch cannons inside. Now, in order to open those shields, what you'll need to do is down the walker by shooting one of its legs. As you down it, it will spill out some arc orbs. Take those arc orbs and deposit them into the receptacles at each shield. There's 3 shields, and each shield has 2 receptacles, meaning there's a total of 6 receptacles or 6 orbs you'll need to put into these things in order to get all the shields to open. Once you open all 3 of the shields, the event will become heroic. Make sure that you are able to open up all 3 of them before you kill off the first walker, because if you kill off the walker and don't do it, you'll end the event before you can make it heroic. And once it becomes heroic, this one actually just spawns yet another walker. Make sure, again, like I was saying, you don't kill the first walker too early. Once both walkers are spawned, make sure you take both of them out. You'll obviously need to make sure that you take out both of the walkers within the time limit, and that is the heroic event completed. Now we are staying on Titan, and the next one I'm doing is called Witch's Ritual, and it's often found right next to the landing zone called the Rig. Now what you'll need to do in order to start this one is go inside and stand on the 2 circles. As you charge these plates, you'll actually drop the shields of the wizards, and you'll want to take them out. After you do that, it'll charge the main portal, as well as these 2 shields to the top left and top right of this large portal. Standing on these plates for an extended period of time will drop these shields. Once the shields are dropped, you'll want to shoot the shards behind the shields to explode them. As soon as both of them are taken out, it'll spawn a ogre type enemy, and the event will become heroic. I'd probably recommend using your supers here because it tends to get a little bit chaotic. As soon as you take out this enemy, you will complete the event. It will be the heroic version, and you'll obviously have to make sure that you complete it within the time limit. If you don't finish in time, it will still say that you completed it, but I don't believe you get the same rewards as other times. Next up, we have the Cabal Excavation, where a small little excavator comes and lands down with a circle around it. Additionally, some red lasers will come from the sky, and if you're standing in their location, you will probably die. Now the goal here is to stand in the circle until it charges. As it charges and reaches 50%, a red thresher ship will show up. What you'll need to do is take out this ship before the entire process finishes. Now the ship does kind of go around in circles and hover and patrol the area, but you don't have a lot of shots at killing it. You would probably need a couple of people shooting at it, and hopefully you have a little bit of better aim than me. As soon as you take out the red thresher, you will join the heroic public event and spawn a boss. What you'll need to then do is kill the boss, and I think you also need to transmit the rest of the information from the excavator, and once you do that, you will be successful and complete it. Now we have Spire Integration, where you'll need to protect this middle piece from Vex that are going to try to kind of sacrifice themselves into the Spire. Now you'll notice the Spire has 3 lights, or these like particle effects coming off of it, and they're connected to 3 spires on the outside edges of this area. Now stepping inside of one of these plates will charge it, and you'll need to charge all 3 of these plates within the time limit in order to trigger the heroic event. Normally you would just stay in the middle and defend the Spire until the time runs out. But after triggering that heroic event, you'll now have elites to deal with. And these are going to be Minotaurs and Quantum Harpies and a whole bunch of other really difficult enemies. All you'll need to do is then defend the Spire for the rest of the timer. And once the timer reaches 0 seconds and you are successful, you will complete the heroic event. Next up, we have Injection Rig, which is one of my favorites and works very closely to how a lot of the raids worked in Destiny 1. A gigantic rig will fall and a Scion will spawn. Now, as the Scion gets killed, the rig begins to overheat and a shield comes around it, and it asks you to evacuate because everything inside gets burned. In order to compensate for that overheating, the rig will open some vents. At the first Scion, the vents will open up at the top, and you need to DPS these vents in order to shut them off. Now keep in mind, because you are inside of the shield and it is overheating, you're taking damage over time because of the heat and the fire that these vents are causing. If you DPS the vents fast enough, you will make them turn black and smoke instead of just closing shut again. After killing the second Scion, something similar will happen, but the vents will open up near the middle. Again, DPS these as much as possible in order to break them before they shut down. Last but not least, we have our last Scion, and after killing him, a vent will open up randomly on the bottom of the unit in one of 3 places. Make sure you and your team is ready to find out which one opens and then DPS it as quickly as possible. Healing rifts are very important here as they'll help you stand your ground when the actual shield begins to burn you and take your health. After that, a giant boss will spawn and you can kill the boss in order to complete the heroic event. Last but not least is the Taken Blight, and you'll find this one commonly on any of the Taken areas like IO. Now, the Blight will spawn in the middle, and then smaller Blights with little shields over them will spawn around it. Now, when you fire at the Blight, you'll notice that it is immune to your damage. What you'll need to do is dunk yourself into the smaller Blights on the side in order to get a small buff that lasts 4 seconds called Blight Receding. During this buff, you can damage the main Blight. It does take quite a bit of damage, so you'll probably need minimum 2, but probably more people doing this, dunking themselves in and out and causing high DPS to the Blight in order to eventually destroy it if you do enough damage. Once you destroy it, it will disappear and spawn a Blight Maker. Once you take out the Blight Maker, you will complete the heroic event. Otherwise, if you don't destroy the main Blight and just destroy the mini Blights on the side, you'll complete it as normal instead. Thank you guys so much for watching my video on how you can get all of the public events to be heroic public events. Please share this video with a friend. Shout out to LT Anahill, Kramer, Dropped at Artemis, and Omega D's for being good teammates. Thanks to Darth Dave 89 for supporting the show on Patreon, and hopefully I see you guys next time. Peace!